What if the reason you're struggling with time management is because the advice you've been given was actually never meant for you? Listen, moms aren't just juggling schedules. We're juggling dreams, emotions, mental load, and an endless list of invisible tasks. So, if you've tried all the productivity hacks out there and you still feel like you're falling behind, today's conversation will be a breath of fresh air. Today, I'm joined by Laura Davis, who is a time management coach and founder of the Time Management Academy. And she helps working moms stop choosing between their dreams and their families. We first connected through our mutual coach and friend, Holly Marie Haynes. And I instantly knew that Laura's approach was something that more moms needed to know about. She's on a mission to bridge the gap between traditional productivity advice and the real life complexities of being a mom and a business owner. In today's conversation, we're going to unpack why most strategies don't stick, what bandwidth awareness means, and how to build a system that actually supports your life. Let's jump into the episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Consistency Corner podcast. And this episode is for you if you've ever felt like your calendar is running you instead of the other way around, which I think most moms can relate to. But I'm really excited for our conversation today with Laura Davis, time management coach, mom, and founder of the Time Management Academy, where she helps working moms manage their time, calendar, and life without choosing between their dreams and families. And she's walked this path. She's gone through IVF, corporate chaos, building her own business. Also, she just moved, which I think we all know is a huge time suck right there. But she's got real deal strategies that actually work. So, Laura, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to get into this conversation today.
I am so excited to be here, Ruthie. I feel like this has been a long time coming. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So, when it comes to time management and productivity, what do you find that most moms get wrong around productivity?
Yeah, so I would say the number one thing is that they are listening to people and to books and to podcasts that were developed and written by and for men. And don't get me wrong, I love all the guys out there if there are any listening to this, but when it comes to time management and productivity, a lot of the philosophies and the data are rooted in a man's life, which is very different than a mom's life, especially a working mom's life. And so I would say that's probably the number one mistake is listening to like tips and hacks and tricks that really are not developed for working moms. And so when you're trying to apply this, like what seems to be a simple tip or trick, when you're trying to apply that to your life as a working mom, it likely is just not going to stick long term because it wasn't built for the complexities of our lives as working moms.
Yeah, because the research was not done on people who are balancing this demand and that demand and hormone cycles and cultural expectations and the way our brains work. And I almost even think about it as like you wouldn't take parenting strategies for a newborn and use them on a teenager. Like
Right.
it's the same thing. Like if the research and the strategies were built around cohort A and you're in cohort B,
Mm-hmm.
and then you find yourself like shaming yourself
Yep.
because this didn't work or that didn't work. And then you're like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Like, it's something wrong with you. It's wrong with the strategy.
Yeah, yeah. And there's so many popular like authors and podcast hosts who I have a lot of respect for that are men. And it's not that what they're saying is necessarily wrong. It's more that they're not giving you the context of what they're sharing. So a really good example is like James Clear with Atomic Habits. I love him and I think his book is fantastic if you can go into it knowing that he is a man who does not have the same complexities as a working mom. And so when you're reading his book and you're trying to, apply the things that he's teaching, again, his science and his data is not wrong, but it also does not account for what is such a complex life of a working mom. And so my philosophy and the reason that I truly believe that I'm here is to be that gap, right? To be that bridge between those two gaps where there is all of this really great science and data of how to manage your time really effectively, how to be super productive. And then my mission in this world is to create that bridge between that data and that science and research and apply it specifically to working moms, very specifically to working moms.
Yeah. So what made you, and I love that you feel called to do that is your mission. As you figured it out for yourself, what called you to add running a business to an already full plate?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because this is an interesting story to me, and I feel like it's still developing even to this day. But I originally, back in 2017 when we had to go through IVF, that was really what started my whole time management journey, because that's when I started to dig into the research. I'm a research and data nerd. I used to be a managing editor for a clinical journal. So, like, I love research, right? And I started to dig into the science of it. And what I found was that exact thing, that like it's all created by and for men. And so I started to tweak everything and mold it and change it to work for me as a working mom at the time, because I also had a stepdaughter, so I was already a working mom and I was trying to get pregnant going through IVF. And then eventually I had my daughter. And at first, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, it was in network marketing. And it really was to be able to be home with her. But when 2020 hit, and I was already trying to transition to working remotely even before 2020 happened.
Mm-hmm.
So when I just continued working remotely. And then about 3 years ago, I switched jobs to a different company that was 100% remote only. And so since I've switched, my entrepreneurial journey is actually changing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to leave corporate America. I actually really love my corporate job. I love the stability that I have. I love the benefits that I have. And I love that it's a remote first company that I work for. And they're actually very supportive of my business. And so it's really been fun, actually, to transition from wanting to be an entrepreneur for selfish reasons of wanting to stay home and not have to go into an office, to now I'm an entrepreneur because it's something that I feel called to do. It is my mission in life, and I am able to live out that mission and live out that purpose without necessarily having those insane pressures of being a full-time entrepreneur, because I still have the security of my full-time job.
Yeah.
But I love both worlds. And
Yeah.
so, I'm a manifesting generator, if anybody likes human design. And so I am not meant to have one thing. I'm not meant to stick with one thing. And I've really embraced that about myself.
Yeah. And I think that as people go through their entrepreneurial journey, and I always love to ask this question and hear from people, your why changes, your goals change, your situation changes. But for you, I think that like deep calling of, I figured this out and other moms need to know this has always been there. So
Yeah.
after you dug into the research, how is your framework now different from like the hustly color coded planner advice that's already out there?
Yeah, yeah. So my framework, I'm not going to lie, it is a digital first approach, because I truly believe that as a working mom, I don't think relying primarily on a paper planner is the best use of helping to manage your life. However, I have a philosophy that it is a digital first philosophy, but I'm not going to take away anything that's already working for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we go through the process, it's a 4-pillar framework. And the 4 pillars are the principles of time management, the skills of time management, the mindset of time management, and then also your bandwidth awareness. So how much capacity do you actually have? And as we work through those 4 pillars, we're quite literally breaking down the way that you manage your time, your schedule, and your life. And we're rebuilding it, kind of like a phoenix rising from the ashes. We're rebuilding this beautiful new system for you to manage your life, and really allowing that system to bear the mental load for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of the ultimate goal, right? At the end of it, is that you feel really good about how you're spending your time. You feel really good about the system we've created to manage your time. And you feel like that system is helping you manage yourself, your schedule, your time, your life. And it's not something that you're constantly having to like drag yourself through the mud to try to do. Because for a lot of people, when it comes to planning, they're like, I feel like I'm literally trying to just drag myself through a pit of mud. It's so difficult. And managing your time it should feel very easy for you. It should feel very simple. It should not be daunting. And so that's what happens after you go through the 4 pillar framework.
I think that capacity piece is so interesting, and bandwidth, because I know for me, that's probably why it often feels hard, because I'm trying to
Mhm.
fit more into the cup than will actually fit.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so the we spend an entire week on that, on the bandwidth awareness, and I've actually created this tool for all of my clients because again, we're going to show the geeky side. It is a spreadsheet, but we actually go through an exercise where we calculate truly how many hours you have each month. We look 6 months ahead, and we say how many hours do you have available in
Mhm.
each month over the next 6 months. And then we look at here are the things that you want to accomplish in those next 6 months. Do we actually have the correct number of hours to
Mhm.
accomplish those things? And if we don't, then we strategize where to rearrange things, how to move things around, maybe how to pivot, how to save time in other areas of your life to make more time for your goals. And so that's one of my favorite weeks in Time Management Academy. It's so much fun to go through that exercise and come out the other side and see kind of the light bulbs go off of like, oh, this is actually how many hours I have.
Yeah. So I know you have a free challenge for moms to
Mhm.
master your your work week. And when you're talking about pivoting and moving things around, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, they have that freedom. But even sometimes entrepreneurs don't, because you have client demands and you have
Mhm.
teams depending upon you. So tell me a little bit about that master your work week challenge and how that is like a great way to test this out.
Yeah, yeah. So Master Your Workweek Challenge is a wonderful free resource. It takes you through 5 days of a challenge, and each day is less than 15 minutes. And it gives you a very actionable framework, kind of like a mini version of my 4 pillar framework. It's a mini version of that that you can literally start implementing today. And it is super easy to implement. It is not complicated. It does not require some sophisticated AI generated app that you have to download on your phone. It is something that you can do directly in either a planner. If you're still a paper planner user, you can do this. You can do it in Google Calendar, whatever method you are using currently to manage your time. Master Your Work Week Challenge fits right into that. And it also comes with a workbook. So if you currently have nothing that you're using to really manage your time and you're looking to kind of build your way up to that, there's a workbook that's included, and it has the exercises that you need to do every single day. And it builds on itself, and it's a repeatable process. So you can literally do it every single week for the rest of your life if you want to.
Yeah. You know, what you said something earlier about the system carrying the mental load of time management. And I think so often that like that's what we want our calendar to do for us. That's what we
Mhm.
want our planner to do for us. But if the process is not repeatable, it's not actually doing it for us. It's just like the hammer in the toolbox. Like it's not actually
Yep.
hammering because we don't know how to use it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it really should be able to bear the mental load for you. And I'll give you a really good example that actually just happened last week. So Harper is going into first grade this year. And so last year when we were prepping for kindergarten, there was a lot of things that you don't know what you don't know yet, right?
Mhm.
Because I hadn't been through it yet. Or, well, I should say I hadn't been through it in a very long time. My stepdaughter is 16. I was there for kindergarten for her, but it was it was 10 years ago, right? So there was a lot that I didn't know. And so as I was going through kindergarten, I started to build things into my calendar system that would help me this year. So last week, I actually got a reminder to check Harper's school's website because they have a program where you can pre-order all of their school supplies from them and they're delivered to their classroom on the first day of school. Like you literally don't have to deal with Walmart or any of that kind of stuff. And so I checked the website last week. Sure enough, they were ready and I ordered them. her school supplies are marked off of my list. And
Mm-hmm.
that I had a prompt from my calendar to do that last week. And I had created that prompt last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I never had to wait to be prompted this year or wait until the week before school to think about her school supplies. And so when I say that it takes the mental load, it should bear the mental load for you. That is probably the most recent realistic example that I can give where I never had to think about school supplies beforehand and I don't have to think about them again after because it's
Yeah.
all taken care of.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily about squeezing more into your calendar. It's about using tools, using systems to protect your time, protect your energy, and then knowing what actually deserves your time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
let's talk a little bit about that, like knowing what actually reserves deserves your time and what you actually need to do. You can't always outsource your zone of genius. And obviously for you, like studying this time management and digging into the data and figuring out strategies and systems, like that's your zone of genius. So when you think about your business, are there any things today, particularly around marketing or social media, that for you are like, man, this is a time suck. I wish I could get this off my to-do list.
Yeah, I mean, social media in general is probably the number one thing that I just feel like I spend so much time on is the content creation. And I love creating the thought leadership side of things. So, when I'm creating my YouTube videos, I love that. And then repurposing them, that's where you start to get in the weeds, right? You have to write all the captions, you have to create all of the Instagram reels or the carousel posts or the Pinterest pins, and you have to come up with captions for all of those and the tags and the links and the all of that stuff. And that to me, even as because I do marketing full time, right, in my corporate job. So even as somebody who's an expert in marketing, I still know in my business that that is the number one thing that I can outsource and offload to someone else to open up more of my free time. And I've actually gotten it down to like precisely how much time that would save me. And it's about 5 to 8 hours a week
Yeah.
that I am spending on social media, ideation, creation, scheduling, all of that. And that when you're looking at, especially somebody like me who works full time, I already work 40 hours a week, if not more. And then my business, plus I don't want to sacrifice any time with my family. If there is one task that is sucking up 5 to 8 hours of my week, to me that is a no-brainer that it's something that you should outsource when your business gets to that point that you're able to outsource things 100%.
I think that's so huge that you've measured it and you know. And one of the things that I often hear from founders that we work with is they actually don't know how long it takes because they've become so inconsistent that
Hmm.
it's drained them because they were on the hamster wheel for such a long time and we're DIYing and we're in that space. And then they get to the point that they're like, okay, something has to give. This is going to be the things that I'm going to offload. They're like, but I don't even know if it's going to save me that much time because I've stopped doing it. But then what I hear from people is that it like lightens the creative burden of
Hmm.
thinking about it because
Yeah.
that even you can say the 5 to 8 hours, but there's also the like I'm in the shower and I'm thinking about a caption, I'm washing dishes and I'm thinking about a hook or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
social media it is so beneficial. And for my business personally, social media is my middle of funnel, right? So if you have like your sales funnel, the top of funnel for me is like podcast guesting, my YouTube episodes, guest speaking, like blog articles, things like that. My middle of funnel is my social media. And that to me is one of the most important areas of your sales funnel because that's where you're getting to know people. That's where
Mhm.
you're nurturing people. That's where they're gaining trust with you. And so it is such a critical component of a marketing plan that I know it's so important, but I also know that I don't always have the time to dedicate to it. And so being able to have someone help with that and do it consistently,
Mhm.
because that's where things start to change is when you start to do it consistently, you start to see momentum, you start to see change, and then I'm able to nurture all of the people who come into my environment.
Yeah. And I think that's really important too. Like you said, you've identified that for you, social media is middle of funnel. And for every single business owner, it is different. For
Yeah.
some people,
Hmm.
it is top of funnel. For some people, it is bottom of funnel. For some people, it is all three. And knowing what job it has is, I think, step number one in determining, can you outsource? What sort of support do you need? But if you just, and I hate to say this because I think there are a lot of very talented VAs who could absolutely help people get social media off their plate. But if you don't already know what social media's job is, and asking a VA to take it over for you without giving them the strategy and the understanding of what you want it to do, like, you're not setting them up for success, right?
Right, right. And then it becomes, you also don't have someone to be that strategic partner with you who is a social media expert, because you could hand over, all of the captions for that week, all of the concepts for that week. But if they don't know social media strategy, then you're actually not getting as much results as you possibly could. Whereas if you were to hire somebody who is a social media expert, who is a marketing expert, maybe you are handing them over like, hey, here's my content plan this week. I need your help creating them and scheduling them, right? But that social media expert could say, hey, I saw that you had this planned for this day. I think if we make this tweak and kind of shift it this way, that it's gonna help more on your sales side, or it's gonna help more on your nurturing side, because they understand the strategy behind it. So
Mhm.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. And the customer journey and staying on top of trends and algorithm changes and platform updates, because
Yep.
all of those things are time consuming as well, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very
Yeah.
much so. Very
Yeah,
much so.
for sure. So when you think about your content, and I love that you do your YouTube channel and that you spend a lot of time repurposing that, because if I could like have a gift from every client I ever work with, it would be that they have a long form content piece, such as a podcast or a blog or a book or whatever. But how do you manage your workflow when it comes to planning the podcast and get yourself staying consistent with that?
Yeah. So I think, one, I want to note something on this really quickly for the audience, because planning and managing your time are two very separate skill sets,
Oh, okay. That's
right?
that's a good one.
So you could be really good at creating a plan. You could be the best planner in the entire world, but your ability to execute that plan within time management skills might need some work. On the reverse side, you could be really good at nailing your calendar and following everything that your calendar says, but you struggle to make a 6 month plan. Like, you couldn't do that to save your life if you had to, right? Those are two separate skill sets. What I have found is that it is rare, it's possible, but it's rare for someone to be naturally good at both,
Okay.
right? And so that, before I give you my answer, I think that's a really important caveat to know, because it's something that I work with clients in both capacities. So
Mhm.
we not I have a separate offer for folks who really need to work on planning and they want to create like a 90-day plan. And then separate from that is Time Management Academy, where you learn the actual 4 pillar framework that I have for time management, but two separate skill sets, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to my actual workflow for how I manage this, the way that I look at things is I plan kind of my year at a time. So I look at like big chunks of, what does my year look like? What does work trips look like that I know of, family vacations, launches for Time Management Academy, things like, what's that big macro picture, right? And then I plan a quarter at a time. So then I look at, and I start doing this. So let's say for like quarter 1, which is January, February, and March, I will start planning that in November. So like a month and a half in advance of
Mhm.
when the quarter starts. That's when I'll start to look like, okay, when are my specific launches? Like, when is my open cart? When am I doing my free workshop to lead into that?
Mhm.
What are my offer focuses outside of a launch? So I technically only launch twice a year.
Mhm.
And those launches are for the cohorts inside Time Management Academy. I only do them twice a year, February and September. So those are my big launch times. So then I look at what is my product offer roadmap for the rest of the year. And then I get really specific month to month. So I will map out, if I know that my offer focus is my schedule accelerator offer, which is what it is right now, then I'll map out all of my emails for the week, or I'm sorry, for the month. And then I will look at, okay, what type of episodes for YouTube can support the fact that I am focused on schedule accelerator right now.
Mhm.
And then I also look at what's happening in the world. So right now it's summer break. So everything I'm talking about has a summer break tilt to it, right? And so then I'll come up with ideas, and then I will write each week's episode. I'll have, the episode title, the script for that episode, what I want people to take away from it. And then that episode is what informs all of my social content for the week. So that's where I start to get the reels, the carousels, my story concepts. So it's all connected, right? And broken out, but it all starts with that year view. And then I just keep breaking it down to get really, really specific.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that that is a gift to any social media strategist. So, whomever you end up outsourcing to when it is time, like you are giving them a gift by having a campaign calendar. And I think what you said about mapping it out for the entire year, and it can change, right? Like you're not
Yeah,
mapping it out in pen, but having that
right.
penciled in calendar of what are your launches, what's happening in your life, what's happening in the world, what's happening in your ideal client's life
Hmm.
helps you create that roadmap to follow over the next quarter. And I know for me, like in my corporate days, we sat down in August and started
Hmm.
that for the next year. And usually
Yep.
by October, it was pretty well baked for the next at least 6 months, but at least penciled in for the next year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And one of the worst things, and I'm guilty of this. I used to be like this, where it's July 8th when we're recording this, and I would get to July 1st and be like, oh shoot, like what am I talking about this month? And it when once you get out of that rhythm and you get into it takes effort and it takes time to get into the planning ahead side of things, but once you do that, it becomes so much easier.
Yeah.
And there are times that I am not great at it, like my email game this month. I had to kind of kick myself in the butt and be like, hey, get it together. It is the first week of July. Figure it out. Write and schedule your emails and be done with it. And so, it's not, you're not always going to be perfect, but being able to look ahead and have that strategic roadmap of what you want to do is so important, not only for your business, but also I would say your mental health as a business owner too,
Yeah. Yeah.
and being able to
Absolutely.
also guide your team, right? Like if you, I'm sure you as a marketing person who would help a business owner with their marketing or with their social media, as that expert, you need a business owner who is, who kind of has a vision and has a plan, because you can't create that for them. They have to have the vision for their business so that you can come in and be that strategic partner for them.
Yeah.
So as a business owner, I think that having that roadmap and knowing at least at a high level what you're going to talk about and when is so important.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Well, I think you and I could probably nerd out on marketing strategy and
Yeah.
planning, campaign planning forever, but we will shift a little bit. And I want to ask you a couple rapid fire questions we ask all of our guests just to get to know you outside of the business stuff a little bit. So, my first question is, what are you currently reading?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I just finished, I'm in a book club. I'm probably the worst participant in this book club. I am, because I don't read physical books. I listen on Audible, and the only times I really listen is when I'm walking or when I'm driving. So I never have the book finished. And I found out that we were reading this book in August, back in May, and I started listening to it to try to get ahead, and I just finished it. And it's called Witchcraft for the Wayward Girls. I don't remember who it's by, because again, I'm the worst book club member ever. I have no idea who this is by. But I live in St. Augustine, and this book takes place in St. Augustine. So that's the most recent book that I've read. It's
Oh, that's
not
fun.
like professional development or anything like that. It was just supposed to be a pleasure read.
Yes, that's fun. All right. What are you currently watching, or what have you watched recently that you loved?
I just started season 2 of The Night Agent on Netflix. I
Mhm.
loved season 1. I'm only 1.5 episodes into season 2, so it's still TBD on if I like it, but I loved season 1.
Okay, that's a good one. All right. If you're not listening to an audiobook and it's time to like put on a playlist, pump up some energy, or maybe even a podcast, what are you listening to?
It depends on the scenario. So when I'm working out, my go-to playlist is the Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift. I don't know why. That is just like my gym playlist. If I need to hype myself up, like for anything really, then it's Reputation by Taylor Swift. I'm a Taylor Swift fan. So those are probably the two like music related playlists. Outside of that, there's so many good podcasts that I listen to. I love like Holly's podcast, Holly Marie Haynes podcast. I love Allison Hardy's podcast. I love your podcast. Um, there's like a whole bunch of podcasts. I love Accountable by Amanda McKenney. Her podcast is so good. So there's like a handful that I just like try to figure out where all of the recent episodes are from, and I binge those every week.
Yes, I love that. All right. So when it comes to recharging your energy, other than sleep, how do you like to recharge?
That is such a good question because I have been talking about this a lot this summer. So for me, recharging this summer is intentionally playing with Harper. And I'll give you a really concrete example. I am usually the mom that goes to the pool, but I don't get in the pool. And this summer, my recharging is like, I have to get in the pool. I have to get in the pool. I have to swim around with her. Doing something physical is how I recharge because all of my work in corporate and in business is mental work. It's not physical work. So all of my recharge moments for this summer are physical based.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of us who work at our computers sit at a desk a lot of the times. Like it's the end of the day where we think like, oh, I'm just so tired, I'm going to lay on the couch, but then we don't feel any better after we
Right.
laid on the couch. Like we don't actually feel recharged, but getting out and moving for
Yep.
sure does.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So then my final question is there any mom supporting or mom founded brand that you would like to shout out because either they have a solution that you love or something that you're like, oh my gosh, other moms need to know about this?
Yeah. So, I mean, Holly, I would say, has such great resources for business owners. I'm in her co op. I know you've worked with her a lot too. And I love everything that she puts out. So, I feel like Holly is a fantastic resource that truly supports moms. I think Allison Hardy is fantastic. She truly supports moms, and she's an email marketing strategist. Um, you know, I think Amanda McKenney's podcast is fantastic, and she actually has a capacity calculator that's like a really simple version of a capacity calculator for you that I think is fantastic also for moms. Man, there's so many that I could shout out that like I just wish I could give you a list of like the 150 women who I am obsessed with. But those are the ones that are on the top
Yeah.
of my head.
Yeah. Well, I know you've come to the social media mixers in the past, so you'll definitely have to join us for our next one, August 15th. That is one of the things that we talk about questions like this about life, about business, and connecting moms with other moms who help moms
Yeah.
because dang it, moms are going to change the world, but we all need a little help. So we're here to help each other, right?
Yes. And I will definitely be at that mixer.
Yes, awesome. Well, Laura, thank you so much for being here today on the Consistency Corner. We will link your freebie for the Workweek Challenge in the show notes. But if anybody is looking to connect with you, where do you hang out online and where can they connect?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on Instagram. My handle is its.laura.davis, and you can grab that free Master Your Workweek challenge at thelauraddavis.com/workweek.
Laura's take on productivity for moms is such a powerful reminder that time management isn't just about your calendar. It's about your capacity, it's about your energy, it's about understanding your life. And when you start making decisions from that place, everything shifts. If you're ready to build a business that supports your life, not the other way around, make sure to check out the show notes to connect with Laura and explore the Time Management Academy or her Workweek Challenge. And before you go, make sure that you connect with us in our next social media mixer happening on August 15th. We have one about every 6 to 8 weeks, and that's the next one on the calendar. It's a casual collaborative networking event online for founders and of businesses that support moms, because we all know that moms need a little help, and we can't wait to see you there. Check out the list in the link in the show notes or head to theconsistencycorner.com/mixer. Until next time, remember, stay consistent, and consistent doesn't have to mean constant.